Hi there, I'm Zoot Java. Today I'd like to talk about Justin Trudeau and his Great Reset. In a United Nations video conference, Justin Trudeau begins by saying that, and I quote, "The last 6 months have laid bare fundamental gaps and inequities within our societies and between. As with climate change, those who have the least are impacted the most. That's why last spring Canada worked with Prime Minister Andrew Holness of Jamaica and Secretary General Antonio Guterres of Portugal to convene a high-level meeting to discuss how leaders around the world could work together to close these gaps and build a better, more equitable system that works for everyone. In May, we agreed to look at 6 urgent areas of action to mobilize financing for the response and the recovery. Over the course of the summer, over 6 working groups produced over 250 policy options. On September the 8th, finance ministers gathered to discuss these options and their recommendations for the short, medium, and long term. The most promising ideas will be taken up within existing IMF and World Bank processes, as well as the G7 and G20 leaders summits later in the fall. Then in December, we're going to have the opportunity to meet again and discuss the progress we've made, because we understand that right now we have to fix urgent problems, but in the long run we have to fix the system so that it works for everyone. To eliminate this virus anywhere, we need to eliminate it everywhere. While scientists work around the clock to develop a vaccine, as governments we have a responsibility to ensure it will be distributed quickly and fairly around the world. On Friday, I announced that Canada will provide $440 million to COVID-19 Vaccine Global Access Facility, including $220 million, the Advanced Market Commitment to help low and middle income countries access vaccines. This is an important initiative, and I encourage other governments to join in as well. We need to work together, not just on vaccines. Canada believes that a strong, coordinated response across the world and across sectors is essential. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change. Last week, our government committed to investing more in international development while supporting developing countries on their economic recoveries and resilience. And on that note, today I can announce that Canada will invest $400 million more in humanitarian and development funding, which will go directly to trusted partners on the ground fighting COVID-19. Our government is committed to investing even more in the years to come. In addition, we will continue to advocate for extending the debt service suspension initiative. We will also work on ensuring the special needs of small island developing states and other vulnerable countries are taken into account. Building back better means getting support to the most vulnerable while maintaining our momentum on reaching the 2030 agenda with sustainable development and the SDGs. Canada is here to listen and to help. That was Justin Trudeau's conference speech to the UN. He was questioned about if the money would come in for vaccine development or many vaccines, once they're available, will be distributed fairly. His answer was, "We understand how important it is to eradicate the virus at home and everywhere at the same time. That's why Canada's moved forward in a number of different ways to ensure that wherever and whenever a virus is developed, we make sure we're maximizing our chances to be able to obtain it." So a big chunk of that is to contributing close to $500 million to the COVAX facility, which works as in we are securing doses for Canada at the same time that we're paid for, and at the same time as we will be paying for an equal number of doses to be distributed to the developing world. That's the large functioning of it that allows for countries to both secure domestic capacity at a reasonable price, but also ensure that on initiative gets vaccines out to other countries as well that don't have the capacity to pay. At the same time, Canada has secured bilateral deals with many pharmaceutical companies and potential vaccines to double up on our chances to be able to access vaccines once one becomes available. But we know that participating internationally in ensuring vaccines for the developing world is incredibly important as we move forward, and which is why we're full-fledged supporters of the COVAX facility. End quote. My take on this? Well, there it is, right from the horse's mouth. I'll leave a link in the description box below if you want to see it for yourself. But he's putting the Great Reset out there to subtly pluck at our heartstrings for those around the world who are, shall we say, less fortunate than ourselves. I wonder if, when discussing matters with Andrew Holness, the Jamaican Prime Minister, that he showed him his many pictures of himself dressed in blackface with a banana shoved down his pants. If not, maybe somebody should show this to the Prime Minister so that he can see what a compassionate human being he's dealing with. So Trudeau says they're looking for a better, more equitable system that works for everyone. That sounds suspiciously like communism or socialism. But my first thought was, great. How many multi-millions is this going to cost the Canadian taxpayer? He says that right now we have to fix urgent problems, but in the long run we have to fix the system so that it works for everyone. This never means how to elevate those with nothing. This always means to drag those down who have just a little bit to almost nothing, which now sets the bar lower and gives the illusion of greater equality overall. With this character unfortunately running the show, it would appear that he's on the one hand trying to hide his ineptitude of driving Canada's national debt spiraling out of control, and this was when times were relatively good. With the advent of this virus, wink, he gets to hide in a cloud of smoke, effectively driving a ridiculous fear across the nation, allowing overbearing health proclamations to cause people to lose their jobs or businesses that they built up that will never be able to come back, force everyone to be locked down under penalty of outrageous fines, limiting people in their own homes. In stoking this fear, they can effectively cause a rift in society where people are at odds with one another. It's typically those who are still able to work and continue to earn their paychecks who can take the high road, in their opinion, to argue with the others who are left destitute because they are standing in the dust with nothing and see something that isn't, shall we say, much more deadly than the flu that comes in every year. This drives us still deeper in debt, and our glorious Prime Minister gets to blame the national debt on this virus. It's amazing how he says that to eliminate the virus anywhere, we must eliminate it everywhere. Well, it will never be eliminated. This is going nowhere. At best, we can learn to control and or live with it. And of course, to ensure that he comes out smelling like a rose, we have a responsibility to get it distributed equally around the world. Well, since we have been dragged into this without anybody being asked if they want to, that can only mean that we, the taxpayer, are going to be on the hook for everybody outside of our country who contribute absolutely nothing to us. Trudeau announced, without my permission anyway, that Canada will provide $440 million to the COVID Global Access Facility with $220 million to help low and middle income countries access vaccines. The pandemic has provided us with an opportunity for a reset, and there it is. To begin with, that is absolutely stupid. You go into one of these endeavors, such as the reset, when you have your house in order, when all your people are taken care of first, before anyone else, and also before you drive your national debt way down. But no, he decided that it's better off to crush the Canadian people by ruining half of them economically and destroying their lives. Also, giving away $400 million more in humanitarian development and committed our government to investing, I love that term, even more in the years to come. And you know, we have got a problem with our indigenous population in this country and have had for quite some time, and they really need an awful lot of help. I'll tell you something right now. I seriously doubt they're getting $400 million, and they really need it and could use it. But also, here's something that kind of caught me by surprise. When I expected this moron to give our entire country's money away. But in his little speech, he said, building back better means supporting nations with nothing on our way to the 2030 SDGs, which is the Sustainable Development Goals, a UN agenda pushing us around for what a handful of little dictators want. But if there are any Americans looking at this, possibly you can recall Joe Biden's slogan, Build Back Better. I wonder where he got that from. I wonder who shoved that down him, forced it down his throat, made sure that he took it, because he's just a puppet anyway. It would appear he's selling you down the river, also with the UN agenda, taking preference over Americans. And there's an awful lot of people in the US who could use an awful lot of help. What a surprise. Again, with tossing around money that he obviously doesn't have to personally dip into, Trudeau's giving $500 million so that while Canada gets vaccines, we'll be paying for an equal number of vaccines to countries who don't have to pay for it. He's just given away so much money that we are now one of those countries who can't afford to pay for it either. What an idiot. Well, now for the part that you've all been waiting for, my bad joke. Justin Trudeau reminds me of, what the difference is between politicians and diapers. Or shall we say, what do politicians and diapers just have in common? Well, both of them should be changed regularly and for the same reason. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe, because not only does it help me out a lot, but it annoys the usual suspects. Hit the bell for notifications and more of my words of wisdom, and share my content on your social media, because I get censored by all the usual suspects. Until later, have a Java on Zoot.